Welcome back to The Explainer. So, if your business uses Workspace Agents, listen up because I have some pretty urgent news for you. They actually quietly stopped being free on July 6th. Yeah, I can already hear the collective gasp from accounting departments literally everywhere. OpenAI just flipped the switch from a free preview over to credit-based metered billing, and honestly, there's a really good chance your team completely missed the memo. So today, we're going to break down exactly what this means for your budget using data straight from OpenAI's own rate cards and figure out how to stop the leaks before they even happen. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Are you paying for AI agents that you thought were absolutely free? You see, when these agents first launched, the big stated deadline for the free period was May 6th. But OpenAI kind of quietly moved that deadline without any massive headline announcement, pushing it back to July 6th. And because that original May 6th date is still sitting right there on the original announcement page, a lot of teams who thought they'd safely pass the checkpoint without extra charges are actually in for a huge surprise.
Now, if you're feeling a bit blindsided right now, I promise you, you are not alone. Get this, 42% of enterprise leaders currently lack full visibility into their AI spend. That's according to a recent KPMG survey of over 2,000 senior leaders. And not only is that visibility missing, but a third of them actually cite a limited understanding of token-based cost structures altogether. So look, if you don't know exactly what your agents are costing you right this very second, you are sitting squarely in that 42%. And that's exactly why doing an urgent financial audit of your AI toolkit is absolutely essential today.
The dates here really tell the story of how this slipped under the radar. It all started back on April 22, 2026, with the research preview launch. And the original billing deadline? That was set for May 6th. But then, on May 22nd, OpenAI quietly extended that free window via a single line in their ChatGPT business release notes. No big blog post, just release notes. Finally, we hit July 6th, 2026, and boom, metered billing went live for real. Explicitly, as of July 6th, every single agent run inside your ChatGPT Business, Enterprise, or Edu workspace draws down credits on top of the seat fee you're already paying. Your base subscription price hasn't changed, but this is a brand new, separate, variable cost stacked right on top of the whole shebang.
So you're probably wondering, how exactly are you being charged? Well, there's no simple flat price per agent run. Instead, it's a three-tier token system based on the default GPT 5.5 model. Here's how it shakes out. Fresh input tokens are going to cost you 125 credits per million. Cached input tokens drop all the way down to 12.50 credits. And output tokens? Those jump all the way up to 750 credits per million. I know, this metered math can seem incredibly complex at first glance, but honestly, breaking it down into these three distinct buckets is the absolute first step to demystifying your new bill.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive disparity in those costs. I mean, the contrast is just striking. Output tokens are literally 6 times pricier than fresh input tokens. What that means for you is that an agent that writes long, sprawling, essay-like responses will drain your credits significantly faster than one that just reads a ton of text and spits out a quick one-line answer. On the flip side, cached input is 10 times cheaper than fresh input. So if you've got an agent that rereads the exact same stable instructions every single time, rather than ingesting fresh context completely from scratch, it costs a mere fraction to run.
To anchor all this abstract token math into something a little more concrete, let's look at OpenAI's own published benchmark. They state a typical end-to-end agent run is going to cost you somewhere between 5 and 25 credits. Now that is a pretty wide spread, right? 5 times cost difference from the low end to the high end. And based on OpenAI's numbers, that massive gap is entirely explained by what we literally just talked about. It heavily depends on exactly how much your agent is caching and how much you're actually making it write out.
Now here's some good news. There's an immediate cost-saving lever hidden in these numbers. You absolutely do not have to stay locked into that default pricing. If you switch your routine, simpler agents from the default GPT 5.5 down to GPT 5.4, you get the exact same 3-tier billing structure, but at literally half the cost. Fresh input drops from 125 down to 62.50 credits. Cache input goes down to 6.25, and output drops to 375. It's just a simple one-setting change. For things like scheduled reports or simple lookups, where you don't necessarily need the absolute highest capability, switching to GPT 5.4 cuts your costs by 50% instantly. It's a real game changer.
Which brings us to a fascinating architectural loophole. I really want you to ask yourself, where do your agents actually live? Like, do your teams invoke their agent runs directly inside the ChatGPT app, or are they running over in a connected Slack channel? Because as of July 6th, only the runs invoked directly inside ChatGPT itself are actually on the meter. If your agents are answering questions or triaging messages over in Slack, well, that traffic is currently outside the build scope.
But hold on, before you go routing your entire company's workflow through Slack just to save a buck, remember one expired, completely non-committal promise until June 2026. That was OpenAI's previous rate card stance on free Slack runs, and obviously that date is already passed with no change. So yes, Slack-invoked runs are currently unmetered, but I strongly warn against building any long-term business strategies on this temporary carve-out. OpenAI is absolutely not committed to keeping Slack runs free permanently, and their past rate cards explicitly show they intend to meter it eventually. Building a workflow that only pencils out because one invocation path happens to be magically unmetered today, that's a bet, folks, not a strategy.
So how do we get ahead of this new reality? Here's a fast, actionable 20-minute audit framework you can literally run today to identify budget leaks. Step 1. Pick the load-bearing agent. You don't need to audit everything at once. Just grab the one workflow your business would actually miss tomorrow. Step 2. Measure its true consumption. Run it once and be really honest about how much fresh context it reads, what can be cached instead, and how long the output runs. Step 3. Multiply that by real frequency. Say it fires once a day at 25 credits a run, that's roughly 550 credits a month. And finally, step 4, prune unnecessary schedules. This one is absolutely vital. You need to kill off those hourly scheduled agents left over from the free preview era, because when they were free, it was totally harmless. But now, it's a recurring leak in your budget.
So the crucial point is that this metering isn't stopping with just Workspace Agents. Mark this date on your calendar right now, August 6th, 2026. Exactly 1 month after the initial switch, ChatGPT for PowerPoint agents will hit this exact same credit meter. If your team has PowerPoint agents in testing right now, you literally only have until August 6th to measure that real usage before a second metering switch lands on your exact same budget line.
All right, let's recap with a quick playbook summary to lock all this in. First up, ChatGPT agents are now metered. The free ride is officially over. Second, remember the core ratios. Output costs 6 times more than fresh input, while caching is 10 times cheaper. Third, you can totally pull that model switch lever to GPT 5.4 to cut your costs by 50% instantly for routine tasks. And lastly, run that 20-minute audit before your first real bill arrives. Honestly, AI pricing now actively punishes raw, unoptimized usage, so make sure you check your Workspace admin console under Billing today for your current credit balance, just so you know exactly where you stand.
Which leaves us with one final, absolutely critical question for you and your team to answer today. Are your agents hiding in Slack, or are you already on the meter? Seriously, don't wait for your invoice to tell you what your daily habits actually cost. Take control, run the audit, and optimize your workflows right now. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it gave you exactly the tools you need to take action. Keep learning, keep optimizing, and I'll see you next time.